Hey, I'm Mark Alarm, and welcome to the Skylanders Spyro's Adventure 90% Glitchless Speedrun tutorial. This guide is intended for runners of all skill levels, whether this is your first time running a Skylanders game, or you're a seasoned runner looking to pick up or refine Glitchless. In this tutorial, each video will talk about a specific chapter and discuss all relevant movement, strats, and combat. In instances where easy and hard strats deviate significantly from one another, both will be covered so you can learn whatever feels right for you and pick up things as you improve. As for this video specifically, it will mainly focus on getting everything set up and explaining some generally applicable notes. There's a bit of prep work required to get started, but this work is important in ensuring a clean starting state. In addition, I'll go over some general movement advice that extends beyond a baseline understanding of how to play the game casually. This starting slate is written with the fastest possible run in mind, but substitutions are included in the event that you do not have access to all of the optimal components. I emphasize that the substitutions are generally suboptimal, but present further accessibility if you're just getting started and don't mind losing bits of time here and there. Skylanders figures are very cheap, so if you're missing something, you can typically get by with spending less than $5 per figure. For example, I got a couple extra stealth elves for only $2 at a local retro game store. If you buy online, I would recommend eBay, as they're generally for around the same price. If you need other hardware, you should do your own research. So, to start off with the hardware, not including the Skylanders, the run assumes that you have the following. An original Wii and all the relevant pieces. You also need a sensor bar, so doing whatever here. Any Wii will work, but the original Wii has the best load times. You'll want to set the language to French, as is the fastest language, for both text boxes and spoken dialogue. So, right now I'm just navigating to where you would change your language. I'm already in French, so you're probably in English. And you would just select that and select OK. We'll return back. The aspect ratio does not matter, so use whichever you prefer. I prefer using 4:3, but 16:9 also works. You'll need a physical disc to run the game, so I have the disc inserted in my Wii, as you can see up here. At the time of recording, emulators and USB loading are both not allowed on the leaderboards. Emulating this game is a bit more difficult than others due to the whole requiring Skylanders component. But if you want to try the game out and don't want to commit to buying a disc for whatever reason, you can try USB loading. Just note that you won't be able to submit a time until you can play on full original hardware. Then again, this is at the time of recording. These things might change in the future. Next, you'll need 2 Wii remotes, both with nunchucks. The run is possible with only one, but it'll make some strats, most notably in Chapter 16. There's a strat that saves multiple minutes that requires you to have both Wii remotes and nunchucks. So, got my other. Let's see if I can get it in here. Yeah, so I have both my Wii remotes, the nunchucks off camera, but you need both. But you can get by with only using one if you're just starting out and don't have access to another. But I would recommend getting a second. Next, you'll need a portal of power. Any will suffice, but the hierarchy at the time of recording is the Superchargers portal is the best, followed by the Spyro's Adventure or Giants portals, followed by a Swap Force, then Trap Team, and then any portal that's wireless. So you really want to avoid having a wireless portal due to delays with the whole Bluetooth syncing thing, and it'll take longer for Skylanders to swap in and out. So ideally you want to get a Superchargers portal, but I personally run with Spyro's Adventure and it works totally fine for me. Now getting into the specific Skylanders and other items that you might need, the run assumes you have the following. So starting out, we have, let's see if I can get this on camera here. We have the old reliable Stealth Elf. Let me see if I can get this in a better position. Yeah. The old reliable Stealth Elf. She is essential for this run. If you don't have Stealth Elf, you need to get her. Her damage per second and raw speed is very critical in both movement and combat. The perfect mix makes it so you can efficiently wipe out large groups of enemies while also navigating through levels quickly. Unless the category undergoes a significant, fundamentally different reroute, you'll want to use her in almost every instance. She's good enough at the game to where you could solo the run with just her, albeit it's not technically optimal, but you can get very far. She's the bread and butter And at a beginner level, this is the only Skylander that I would say is absolutely mandatory to make this run work. So if you don't have her, you need to get her. We'll also note on the side, I have these active Skylanders and active player icons. When we're using a certain Skylander, they will be highlighted in their full colors. So right now we're using Stealth Elf. Same with the player number. I will make sure that they are clearly indicated. And we'll get more into that as the tutorial progresses, but that's just a helpful thing to keep aware of. I'll keep them off for now, but that's how they will work. Anyway, getting back to Stealth Elf. So regarding her build, you want her to be nearly maxed out, but not entirely. Most notably, you want to go down the Pook Blade Saint path, or the left path, as this improves her primary damage output, and is super required for her to get the most damage possible. However, you do not want to purchase the Elf Jitsu upgrade, and this is because the upgrade gives you combos on your AAB and AAZ attacks, which makes rolling out more difficult. So if I were to attack and then hold the Z button to roll, I would get this combo where I would do this in place sort of flurry of blades attack, but you wouldn't be able to roll out immediately, you would just stay in place. So not having that upgrade is very important, so you can attack freely and then immediately roll out. All other upgrades should be purchased. Additionally, you want to equip the Winged Hat. It gives you a slight speed boost. So the Winged Hat is all the way in this last menu. There's a 100% save file. I forgot to mention that. If you want to get an SD card, you can save and load practice files. And if your Wii is homebrewed, you can also load a Gecko code to save and load your position for practice. Not necessarily required, but it's certainly helpful. So if you have a 100% save file, get the Winged Hat equipped. Lastly, you want to complete all of the heroic challenges, so all 32 of them. This will give you a buff in your speed, critical hit, elemental power, and armor. The speed is very obviously useful. The more speed you have, the faster you'll walk. A critical hit is important because it increases your chance of dealing a critical hit or getting bonus damage. The elemental power increases your damage when you deal damage in the same elemental zone, which isn't super important in this run because we're generally never in the right zone, but there is an instance where it is important, so you should get that if you need it. And then armor increases your chance of not taking damage and knockback when you get hit. So there are a couple of instances where you'd want an armor proc, so getting that leveled up will give you a better chance. So, in short, for Stealth Elf, you want to max out basically everything except the Elf Jitsu upgrade, so it's this first one of the 3 on this tree, and you want to equip the Winged Hat. Next, we'll talk about Cinder. So we'll get Cinder on the camera here real quick. Let's see if I can put it in the right position. There we go, there's Cinder. So for Cinder, she is primarily used for flying over water sections and occasionally used for sections with really large straightaways. I'm going to turn on the game. Sorry, this is the first time making a tutorial, so we're trying this out. So Cinder's primarily used for water and flying over straightaways. Unfortunately, her damage per second is not as high as Stealth Elf's, so her main attack is this lightning. It's not very strong, it doesn't deal a lot of damage quickly, so you generally want to use Stealth Elf for everything else. There are instances where Cinder's useful. Regarding Cinder's build, you want to be fully maxed out, specifically on the Shadow Dancer path, as this improves her dash. Same deal, you'll also be equipping the Winged Hat and investing in all of the heroics. The heroics are less important for Cinder because she's not a true main of this run, but they're helpful. Sometimes an armor proc might be useful, sometimes a slight increase in damage will be helpful. The only one that you absolutely should get would be speed, but I'd recommend just fully maxing her out. And that's it for Cinder for right now. A quick note regarding Cinder's upgrade path. You actually do not want to get the Soul Gem upgrade. This is because her Haunted Ally can attack sheep when you don't want it to. You'd rather use your lightning in order to inflate them and be able to push them away. The Haunted Ally will just stun them for a second and then they'll come back to you. So don't get the Soul Gem upgrade. Next, we'll move on to who's next? Drill Sergeant. Get Drill Sergeant in on camera. Show him off there. Drill Sergeant is important because he's used for digging through rock walls quickly in the 2 levels that feature them, and this will skip the need to grab a pickaxe, which is extremely slow, so you really want to have Drill Sergeant. What else? You can technically use any Earth Skylander in place of Drill Sergeant, because all Earth Skylanders have the ability to break rocks in those 2 levels. They're chapters 18 and 19. But Drill Sergeant is the fastest for doing that, and just Drill Sergeant is the best for it, so you want to have him, I think. Regarding his build, you want to have maxed upgrades while picking the Megadozer path, which is also the right path, as this improves his drilling. And same deal, you want the Winged Hat for the speed boost and all the heroics, most notably the speed. But you'll actually be taking a decent amount of damage with Drill Sergeant in specifically Chapter 18, so the armor is also pretty important. It might save your life. That's about it for Drill Sergeant. We'll move on to Igniter. Igniter is used exclusive. I guess I have a second one, and I'll explain why in a moment. But, oh my god. Got Igniter on camera. All good. Igniter is used exclusively in the final Chaos fight and very briefly prior to it. And although you're only using Igniter once, the damage per second that Igniter gets is far stronger than Stealth Elves, making it possible to one-cycle the last Chaos phase. Albeit he's very slow, so it's hard to make use of him elsewhere. Regarding the build, again, you'll want maxed upgrades, and you'll want to pick the Soul of the Flame path, which is the left path. The game originally intended this for it to be used defensively, but by orienting Igniter correctly, you can use it for extremes damage instead. The damage is far more important than speed, as you'll be mainly walking around a small arena. So you want to equip the Pirate Hat to boost your critical hit. Although, you can also use the Winged Hat because of a recent development in Chapter 22, where we use him a bit at the very end, and that requires him to walk around. So, really, it can come down to personal preference. I guess I'm using the Winged Hat on this version of Igniter, but either are viable. It kind of just comes down to preference. And then for the heroics, you want all of them, or at least the speed, critical hit, and armor are the most important. The elemental power doesn't really matter. That's it for Igniter, and we'll go into the details of how to make use of him when we get there. I gotta put the last Skylander on screen, Zap. I'm gonna get him on camera for a bit. Zap is only used twice in the run, very briefly. He's sort of just a support Skylander, more than anything else. The first time we use Zap, it can be any Skylander, but Zap is used because he has very short entry animations. So when you put a Skylander on, and it does the battle cry, I can kind of do it again. This is what I'm talking about. When I put him on, and he does this sort of intro, he has very short animations, so that's why we use him for the first instance. And then the second instance where we use Zap just needs any water Skylander, but again, because Zap has fast intro animations, we use Zap because he's also a water Skylander. If you don't have Zap, you need to use a different water Skylander for the second skip. And because Zap is used so minimally, the build provides almost negligible time save in the relevant instances. So, if you do want the true optimal build on Zap, you'll take the right path, which is the Slime Serpent path. and you want the Winged Hat and the Speed Heroics. I just have this one fully maxed out, but the only ones you really need are Speed. And even then, Zap is used so minimally that it doesn't really matter. As for, and we have one more item, so no more Skylanders, at least required ones. But the last item, or rather adventure pack we're using, is Dragon's Peak. This is used to skip a hub cutscene and saves about 6 seconds. You don't really need it if you're playing at an intro level and don't have it, but if you want the 6 seconds, you'll need to get that as well. Pause just to read out this last bit of information. So for backup and extra Skylanders, you don't necessarily need backups or extras, except for one exception. But ideally during this run, you will not die. So at a top level, you should complete the run deathless. But even whether you're a beginner or a top runner, you can die in this category. A couple of former world records have included a quick death. So, it can still happen to anyone. So it would be a good idea for you to get backup Skylanders of the most critical ones, or the ones that are most likely to die. Specifically, Stealth Elf and Igniter are the ones that are most useful to have extras of. For Stealth Elf, because of how often she's used, she has the most opportunities to die. So, because she is most likely to die, given how much she's used, you want to have her. And then for Igniter, the final fight can be scary with the amount of damage. So if you're not careful and you die, you'll want a second Igniter in order to finish off the fight. In addition, if you manage to keep Igniter alive for the entire fight, you can go for a strat that includes a second Igniter and will allow you to finish the final phase even quicker by using 2 Igniters at the same time. And any extra Skylanders you have should use an identical build to the main. Last bit of information for this tutorial, each level and relevant hub movement will be presented individually. So this is kind of we'll call it chapter 0, and we'll move into chapter 1 in the next video. And as an aid to the gameplay, I think I explained this earlier, but just as a recap, the tutorial will display which Skylanders are currently active and what player is being used. So this should be helpful for you to reference whether you're doing individual level practice or need to come back to the video and see what's going on, or if you decide to watch this tutorial in pieces. Hey, this is Marco. I'm currently editing the tutorial, so apologies for the interruption. The way that the level tutorials are going to work is I'll start with the full commentary explaining how exactly I'm going through the level, what the strats are, the movement, combat, etc. And then after that will be a full playthrough of the level with the hand cam, without commentary, so you can see how it looks in full. So sorry for that quick interruption, but there you go. Other than that, that is the generic introduction to what's going on in Skylanders Spyro's Adventure 90% Glitchless. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in Chapter 1.